to flesh out a little bit about what John started. A couple of years ago, representatives from the energy industry came to me and said, "Do you know what you have?" I said, "Well, yeah." They said, "No, really. Lake Erie, the shallowest lake, Lake Erie with the Clear Creek Ridge and the Long Point Erie Ridge, some of the shallowest areas in the shallowest lake." Okay. And they said, "We want a piece of the action. We've done our wind studies. They're superb. Okay, how can I help out?" "We need the right to negotiate underwater land leases with Pennsylvania." That sounds real easy. Up to that point, the Commonwealth could only negotiate up to 25 acres, which isn't real practical for utility-scale wind. So I got together with the developers, with the governor's office, with DEP, and with input from the Department of General Services, who negotiates leases for Pennsylvania. And we worked up some bill language that would allow the Commonwealth to negotiate underwater land leases up to 10,000 acres per parcel. We're always preaching about government should do the right thing by creating that atmosphere for industry and for business, and then get out of the way. Well, here's your opportunity. The other obstructions besides politics itself, the other stumbling blocks to offshore wind that I've run into, again, we go back to the issue, and again, this was mentioned, of those who champion coal power, natural gas power, the cheapness of natural gas right now. Why do we need wind? And a certain block of people who oppose renewables just on general principle. I think if we're looking at obstructions, we can look at the organizations. And up in Erie, we have an organization called the Sons of Lake Erie, which is Save Our Native Species, set up originally when we had the zebra mussel crisis. And they pretty much represent recreational fishing, which brings in tens of millions of dollars to Erie County. People come from all around the world to fish our steelhead, primarily, and to a lesser extent our walleye and perch. They are concerned, and rightly so, about electromagnetic fields around the cables and about the pile drivers. The Audubon Society and the Sierra Club, they don't want to kill this. They are environmentalists at heart, but they do want to make sure that the proper studies are conducted. And again, there seems to be a major migratory route for birds that goes right over the middle and western end of Lake Erie. And so they're very concerned about that. Now, over in Ohio, they did a study set up by LEEDCO, Lake Erie Energy Development Corporation, which was set up by Cuyahoga County. And their bird and bat studies were very hopeful in that the birds seem to reach cruising altitude for their migration just a couple miles out from the shore, and the bats generally don't go out that far because they're interested in the bugs along the shoreline. So it seems like, even though we're going to have to do very site-specific studies, it seems like these are encouraging numbers. By the way, the developers that are looking at this particular area of Lake Erie, we're looking at 7.5 to 8.5 to up to 10 miles out from Presque Isle Peninsula. So the people who were concerned about for example, the Lake Erie sunsets which according to one publication, we have the second most glamorous sunsets in the world, second only to Australia, or concerned about homes along the lakeshore being with turbines looming over their houses. All of this is a rather moot question. If we could get this legislation done and move on to RFPs and get some real numbers and real siting proposals from developers, then we could have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Commission in doing their impact studies, or the Corps of Engineers doing their studies, so that we can start to iron out and detail these types of issues. It all boils down to policy. Are we going to be part of this because it's happening, it's exploding, or are we going to sit back and let the world beat us up?